Welcome to the Wedding Obsessed podcast designed to help you plan your dream day. I'm your host, Adriana, and each week I'm joined by the wedding industry's top professionals, celebs, influencers, and friends who share tips, trends, advice, and mistakes they've made so you don't have to. This is the Prenup Podcast. Today's guest needs no introduction, but I will give her a short one anyway. Jenny of Before the Vows is back on the Prenup Podcast. If you don't know Jenny, she's an amazing Tennessee wedding planner, and she was on episode 12 of the Prenup. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back. It was so much fun. Today, we're going to be talking about all kinds of pop culture wedding events, what's currently going on, some trend projections for 2024. It's always a pleasure to talk with Jenny. And if you want to connect with her, I have everywhere you can find her listed in the show notes. Please welcome Jenny of Before the Vows to the Prenup Podcast. So if you listen to the end of each episode, you know we do a monthly giveaway of our Prenup Bridal Prep Planner. But in addition to that, we're doing another giveaway that you guys are going to love. You heard me talking about Smart Labels on last week's episode. It's such a great product and it's so versatile, whether you're planning your wedding or you're moving or you just have a lot of things in storage. So the way it works is you download the Smart Labels app, and that's available on iOS and Android. Then you label your boxes. Each label has a unique identifier and color to help you organize your boxes. Then you're going to scan the label. In the app, you can give each box a name, location, description, pictures, as well as descriptions of each item inside. And that's going to help you easily find any item that you're searching for, whether that's your DIY centerpieces or your bridesmaids gifts for the morning of your wedding. You can search for it in the app and it'll tell you the exact location of the box, as well as the label color, identifier, and any uploaded pictures. So you're not going to have to unstack a million boxes, rummage through everything to try to find that one thing that you're looking for, only to find out that it was actually in your mom's garage and not in your attic. You can find out what's in the box without ever actually having to open it. So the winners will not only get this 48 pack of Smart Label stickers, but they will also get 1 year free of the Smart Label app. I just got mine in and I'm so excited because within the next couple weeks, I'm going to be putting away all of my Christmas decor, and it was very difficult to find all the things that I was looking for this year. So Smart Labels is going to make that really, really easy for me. To enter, just send a screenshot of your follow or subscribe on whatever platform that you listen or watch this podcast on to my email, which is adriana@the-pre-nup.com. I'll list that in the show notes. And if you want to know more about Smart Labels, visit qrsmartlabels.com. Thank you to Smart Labels for sponsoring this episode. Want to get right into it. We'll start with our cocktail hour. I want to know what's going on with you, what's going on with Before the Vows.
Yes. Yeah. Well, oh gosh, I feel like so much has happened since we last talked.
I know.
As you know, like being a fellow wedding vendor, at least for us in the South, like the winter is kind of like our dead season, which is kind of great, especially after the holidays. It gives us a moment to like breathe and regroup.
Yes.
So we had one wedding this past weekend, and then we don't have another wedding until March. So really during this time is when we're booking. We're kind of filling out our calendar for the rest of the year and then into 2025. And then something exciting, we just hired 3 more people for our team. So our team's like growing and expanding, which is exciting. And we feel really like fortunate, to even like to, be able to serve so many couples that we need to grow our team. So yeah, we've just been, hiring people, booking lots of weddings, and trying to find time to like relax too.
Oh, well, that's the hard part. Yeah. Like this season, it's the same here. It's the same in the Northeast just because the weather, like typically no one wants to get married in this. And you would think, this is like downtime, but there's so much back end stuff that you need to like catch up on and catch up for next season. And it's so funny. I think when people think about weddings, they think, oh, you're working like May, June, September, October weekends. And they don't understand how much goes into like the vendor planning and timelines and everything in between.
Right. No, seriously. Even though we don't have another wedding until March, we have 5 in March. So we're like gearing up for those, like scheduling all of our final details meetings, starting to reach out to vendors. And it's a lot. It's great. And I love not having to like work 12 to 15-hour days. I love doing it, but they're exhausting and it takes like several days to recover from that.
Totally.
You know how it is. So it's I love this time of year. And it's also a great time too for us to like network with other vendors.
Yes.
Because we don't really have the time to do that during busy seasons. So we're trying to like schedule networking coffees and like go to networking meetings and like venue open houses, which is fun. Because yeah, we just don't have the time during like spring and fall season.
I know. I know. Well, I'm so glad to hear things are just booming and thriving. That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very well deserved. Like, I just
Thank
adore
you.
you and I think you're so talented and I wish you all the best. Anyone looking for a fabulous wedding planner in the Tennessee area, go to Jenny. She is so amazing. Obviously, I'll have
You're
everything
so
linked.
sweet.
Oh my gosh. No, it's true. And
Yeah.
we always have so much fun when we chit chat together. Like sometimes I'll just see something on Instagram. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jenny would like really
Yes.
laugh at this.
I get so excited when you message me still. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did Adriana send me? I gotta look right away.
I feel
Yes.
like we have a very similar like sense of humor, like
Yep.
taste in pop culture, all that stuff, which let's get into like the main event. So
Yeah.
we are on the cusp. We're in 2024 officially, and
Mm-hmm.
we had a lot of really exciting wedding happenings throughout 2023 that not only like shaped the year, but I think will shape weddings really moving forward too.
Yeah.
And I want to start with the first one, Gary and Teresa, the Golden Bachelor's wedding.
Yes.
It's so funny because I no longer watch The Bachelor, but for
Yeah.
some reason, it is still constantly in my sphere as far as like weddings are concerned. And it does give so much great wedding inspo. Like this year we
Mm-hmm.
had Kaylin and Dean, we had Hannah G, Tia Booth, and now Gary and Terry. Did you
Yes.
watch the wedding?
Of course, I had to watch it. It was well, first of all, the Golden Bachelor. I know we briefly talked about Bachelor and Bachelorette like last time I was on, but the Golden Bachelor I feel like has really brought like a whole new audience to the franchise.
Totally.
And it is just a whole other like type of show within the franchise. And so many people that I know of who never watched before, they watched Gary's season and they fell in love with him. So I was so jazzed to watch their wedding. It was like appointment television for me. And I was just blown away. I thought it was going to be just like a TV wedding where they just like do the ceremony and then that's it and all the guests go home. But it was
Yeah.
like a legit wedding with like a pre-ceremony cocktail hour and then the actual ceremony and then the reception. And they like cut the reception short and I was like, darn, I wanted more coverage of the reception because it looked so fun.
I know. It did look really fun. And I heard there were some like happenings in the Bachelor world, like people
Yes.
maybe a little bit of drama with it was what Caitlin
Caitlin.
Bristow and oh my gosh,
Are you talking about
Tasia.
Jason? Oh yes, yes, because yeah, Caitlin's apparently dating or doing whatever with her former co-host Tasha's ex-fiance Zach. It's like there's a lot to it, but
I know.
yeah, yeah,
I
no, there's drama with that, and then the whole proposal where Brayden proposed to Christina. If you're not like caught up in the Bachelor universe, Brayden is like he's a mess. He's just a mess.
Stop.
But
Is he?
yeah, he's just like he's just immature.
Okay.
And he that girl that he proposed to, they didn't even meet on the show. They met after the show. They were in like two different seasons. And their paths never crossed on the show. So I feel like that was a producer move to get him to like propose and, for the audience to see their love story since they didn't get to see it, on one of the shows. So
Totally.
I thought that was tacky. I don't know. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
I
was like,
saw just when I was watching the Golden Wedding. Who's the host? Oh my gosh, I'm terrible.
Jesse
Jesse
Palmer.
So, yeah, Jesse was like, Brayden made sure he called Gary and Teresa to get their blessing.
right.
I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, does he even know them?
Right? And then like I feel like Gary and Teresa are so sweet. Even if it did bother them, they wouldn't say no.
Yeah, yeah. What are you going to say?
Like
Like, no, you can't propose. Like, these are 70-year-old people.
I know, I know.
They do seem so sweet, though, and so cute. A few
Yes,
of my highlights, one of them was like, they both looked gorgeous. Like,
I
I
know.
was so happy to see Teresa in the dress that she wore because it was like a very youthful look. And one of my
Yes.
big complaints about either like second weddings or weddings of
Mm-hmm.
people of a certain age, like everything looks so old and drab. And I had the
Yes.
same complaint. I don't know if you and I spoke about it. We might have because it's my battle cry. I'm like obsessed with this.
Yeah.
Why are mother of the bride and like
Yes.
older, quote unquote, older bride dresses so matronly when these people are hot? Like Teresa has
Right.
this slamming little bod. Like,
Yes.
why should she have to wear this like ugly cape or whatever that they put on these people? I loved the
Right.
dress. What did you think?
I was obsessed with the dress. I saw it and I was like, I would wear that. Like, if I
Yes.
did a vow renewal with my husband, I would wear that dress. And I'm so glad. I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, I'm so glad she decided to choose something that, like, she felt comfortable and confident in. And she didn't, like, decide to cover herself just because you're old doesn't mean that you can't, like, show off what you have. And, like, obviously, she works hard for her body. She's so adorable. And when she went dress shopping, I was just like in tears. I was like in tears throughout the whole wedding just because of how sweet and pure and like genuine the whole thing felt. But no, her dress was stunning.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And then another thing that I loved, the ceremony seating. Did you see how they had some lounge pieces incorporated? I was like,
I
I love it.
loved that. Let's talk about the ceremony because there was so much
Yes.
that I loved about it. I
Yep.
loved the seating, as you were saying. Like, I think someone did this. It was the creator of Modern Family. He had,
Mm.
this was probably like a year and a half ago. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, but
No, you're
I'll look
good.
it up, whatever. It was very casual seating around like pool style, and it was
Mm.
benches and couches and some seats too, like some formal ceremony seats. But if some people wanted to stand, they could. I love that because it doesn't feel like you're watching a show. It feels like you're part of an experience.
Yes.
I
Yes.
loved that aspect. And this is another thing that I just wish more people would do also, an evening ceremony. Like when the
Mm-hmm.
sun goes down, let's still keep it going. Like I see it so rarely. Do you ever see evening ceremonies?
I do not. And personally and selfishly, I'm glad because I would be so tired. Probably if like ceremony start time was like 6 or 7, I'd be like, nah, like I'm like, I need
Well,
like multiple energy drinks. That's a lot. But I
it's
understand what you mean.
exhausting.
Yes.
Yes, like from a logistics perspective and like a planner's perspective, is
Yes.
it the ideal? No, but
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
think it's so beautiful and like romantic and
True.
whimsical. Like I don't know, it really gave me the feels. Of course, this is a fully produced like television program wedding too, so
Yep.
you have to be cognizant of that. But yeah,
Yes.
I also loved the decor. I thought it was
The
just
florals.
impeccable.
Yeah. Beautiful. Like
Gorgeous.
the big floral arch that they had at like the very back of the ceremony site when she was about to walk down the aisle.
Yes.
Stunning.
Stunning.
I wonder what
Stunning.
their floral budget was. Is like I like I was trying to like piece together like how much everything would have costed.
I know.
And
I wonder what the budget is for these ABC Bachelor weddings because I'm sure that's such a huge incentive for people to obviously
mm,
televise their weddings because, you know, someone's going to pay for the bulk of those things. The
right.
caveat is you kind of are on their terms. It's like,
Yes.
if a parent pays for a wedding, typically your parent like loves you a little more and they don't have another agenda like
Right.
advertisement budgets. Um,
Yep.
but still, like when someone is offering a dollar amount, you're kind of obliged to at least take their like opinion on a couple things.
Yes, because you don't want to be like ungrateful by any means. But
Of
I was just
course.
thinking that when I was like getting myself mentally prepared for the recording, I was thinking that I was like, would I want to, have this elaborate, like already, the bill is already footed wedding and like not have much say, or would I want to have like a smaller scale wedding but have like free reign and like full say over everything? That's a
Totally.
hard decision.
It is a hard decision. I think ultimately, like, trust the vendors, put it in their hands, pay for my wedding, whoever I
Right?
have to like plug and promote throughout the wedding. You hate to say that, but like, I don't know, they're
It's
so
true.
damn expensive.
I know. You know what we need? We need they need to make like a special, like behind the scenes of like Gary and Teresa's wedding. And then like, I want to see the behind the scenes of all the vendors. I want to see how they chose all the vendors, like what went into that. Like, that is so intriguing to me.
I would love that. I would eat that up more than the wedding
Yes.
itself. Like, that's the
Right?
shit I need to know about. The
Yes.
stuff that
Did you
keeps us
know
up at night.
Did you know the wedding planner who did it? I know they like earlier on in the special, Gary and Teresa met with her. Her name was like Mindy. Um,
Yes.
I've never heard of her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like so out of the loop. I
No,
like Instagrammed her, and I was like, oh wow, she's
no,
big.
she's like, it's a big deal. Like, it
Yeah.
was it Mindy Weiss who did their
Yes, I'm pretty
yes.
sure.
Okay, so
Yep.
I have to admit, like a lot of it, I was scrolling past just to get to the wedding, and
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
saw them meeting with someone. I was like, oh, they're probably meeting with the wedding planner, like going through
Yeah.
the pleasantries. But yeah, I mean, that budget alone, she doesn't even really need the advertisement either. So I
Right.
wonder whether ABC actually like paid her to come in. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I need to know.
I
Yes, so
know
many
those are
questions.
so many questions. So many questions. I also loved the family element. I thought was so sweet. Like the
Yes.
grandsons and the daughters being the
Mm-hmm.
bridesmaids. Like it was just
Mm-hmm.
so special. And I know that like I'm not stupid, like, smoke and mirrors TV, but like it really
Yeah.
felt sweet and authentic to
Yes.
me.
It did. I was like listening to some other podcasts about them like recapping the wedding, and some of them were saying that it didn't feel genuine to them, and I was like, shots fired. Like, that was the most genuine wedding ever. And I'm a sucker for love and for any of that, and I'm very oblivious too. So I'm like,
For
maybe.
sure.
But I just felt the love. Like, Gary was like blubbering and like he couldn't get his words out, and I just he said at one point in the special, he was like, just every little thing Teresa does, like I just look at her and I'm just every little move she makes, like her little quirks, I'm so in love with. And I was like, oh my gosh. I
Oh
was
my
like
God.
trying to do my makeup while I was watching it, and I was crying it all off.
It's so cute. It's so cute. Yeah, I
Yes.
totally disagree with whoever thought it wasn't genuine. I thought it was like
Right?
very, very sweet and heartfelt. And I didn't even watch the full season. Like I really wanted to, because one of my best friends and her husband, they're like Bachelor fanatics. And every season
Yes.
they're like, are you going to come back in? Because I always watched it. Like, come on, do it this season. So I go to start Golden Bachelor because they told me that there was a contestant, April. I don't remember if I saw her there, but they were like, oh my God, this woman, April, is crazy. She's just like you. I was like, well, now I need to watch it.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks, I think. But I start it and I get like 2 minutes in and Gary's
Yep.
talking about his late wife. And I'm just
Yep.
like such a baby. Like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
But even having not watched it, I thought they were just like very in love and happy. And
Yes.
they're not like you said before, it brought in a whole new audience doing Golden Bachelor, because I think everyone is a little bit tired of these like young 24-year-old hot successful people. Like, you're telling me you really are having that hard a time finding love? Like, no, you
Right.
want notoriety, and that's fine. Like, I'm
Yep.
here for it. If there's an ulterior motive, like, go get your bag. I don't have a problem with it. But it's tired, we've seen it.
Yes. And all of the couples from, like, if you go back and if you do the numbers, like, statistically, not many of them stay together, like, at all. It's only the ones from like seasons past, from like 10, 15, 20 seasons ago, and then maybe like a few sprinkled in, but
Yes.
everyone's breaking off engagements, getting divorces, like, and it's sad. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
living
just
for Gary and
saw
Teresa. Brian
Rachel
and Rachel.
Lindsay and Ryan. I was so is it Ryan or Brian? I'm terrible.
Brian. I was
I
like,
actually
Ryan.
watched that season too, and now I can't remember.
Oh,
So sad.
yeah,
I was really
I
upset to hear
know.
about them, but I always love
Yep.
to see like Trista and Ryan whenever they come back. 'Cause, like,
Yes.
I remember that. I remember it being such a huge deal.
Right. Yes, they're the OGs. They're still standing strong. Like if they divorce, then like there's no hope for the franchise after that. Like
Love
no.
just doesn't exist if they divorce. Like they
Right.
cannot. They have to stick it out no matter what.
Yes, they're too far in at this point. So
Way
stay
too
with
far in.
it. Yeah.
But Jenny, it's so funny that you said like the statistic of people who actually don't make it.
Mm.
There are so many contestants on the show because I feel like every week I'm like, oh, there's been like another Bachelor wedding. Like these people met on Paradise. These people met on like wherever. There are a lot of success stories, but I guess it's just like it's a relative number because there's just so many people that they pump out.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's true. I'm a loyal fan, but it does get frustrating. You become attached to the couples and then it's just like another breakup.
Yeah. Were you guys playing
It's
me? I
sad.
thought this was real.
Right, I know. I bought into this relationship. I'm invested.
For real. A couple other things about the Gary and Terry extravaganza that I wanted to touch on. So one of the things that really made me laugh is like just the Bachelor universe itself is so strange because you're living in a house with people who are like dating your boyfriend, right? So on
So
what
weird.
planet is your fiance's ex-girlfriend who he was like in love with while you were together? And what world is she ever going to be at your wedding? In what world is your fiance's ex-girlfriend officiating your wedding?
Yes,
like
Susan, right? I think.
Yeah. But she did such a good job officiating, I thought.
She did, but I'm very critical. She was like trying to not look at her script, but then she kept like pausing and then opening it. And I was just like, at that point, just have it out. You don't need to have it memorized. Like,
Totally.
just have it out and read from your book. That's so normal, I feel like. I don't know if you noticed that, but I was like,
I actually didn't notice that, but I'll go back and look because I was like half watching, like listening, looking up. But it's so hard for someone who doesn't do it professionally. Like so many people think, oh, I'm a great speaker and like, people like me. I'm not like, not just anyone can officiate. I actually had, her name's the Vow Whisperer and she is.
Yes, I listened to the episode.
Oh,
yeah, I listened to all your episodes. Are you kidding me?
Oh, you're the best. You are, seriously. But she was giving like tips on what people should do, like officiants, and she actually coaches officiants. And I think if you're going to take on that role for someone, like if you're an uncle or aunt or friends doing it for a couple, like it's a lot harder than people realize. It really is.
Yep. And then as like the coordinator or the planner, you kind of have to, like, they look to you and you have to hold their hand and guide them through everything. Like I've had couples reach out to me and be like, hey, like my, cousin or friend is officiating. Can you help them write the script? I'm like, no, like,
no,
that's not a part of the job. I'm like, thank you for thinking that I can do that, but like, no,
absolutely not.
Like that's not a part of the package that you booked with us. But
that's a whole other job in and of itself. Like that is a huge commitment.
Yes, it's a lot, and this is making me think of. I don't want to skip ahead. Well, no, I'll wait. I'll come. No. That's a question far down the line.
We'll put a pin in it.
Yes, yeah. No, remind me to circle back because I have something good to say about that. But I feel like when you're right, when they're like, yeah, we'll officiate your wedding, and they don't realize like the commitment that it is. They don't realize what they need to do. They don't realize like you have to be there at the rehearsal. You have to come up with a script with a couple. Like, are you going to put any special like, rituals into the ceremony? Like, what kind of vows are you going to write? Like, you have to make announcements pre-ceremony, post-ceremony, like all these different things. And they just don't realize all that it entails. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's well intentioned, but it really is like it's something that I think a lot of people don't take seriously, and
mhm.
it is like it's a pretty serious role. It's like the most important part of the wedding should be the ceremony. I know it's not always,
Right. I know.
but it should be, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. One more thing before we move on from Gary and Terry's that I wanted to
Which I
talk
love
to
how
you
you call
about.
them. I love how you call them Gary and Terry. Like, that's like, it just sounds so great together. Gary and Terry. I love
I
it.
think so too. She like hates to be called Terry. Like,
Who's this girl on the prenup podcast calling me Terry? I can't.
well, it started with my sister when she was on.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out whether it was. I knew it was Gary because I had like heard it. And, like, I still kind of surround myself in The Bachelor, but my sister's not on social media. She's never watched The Bachelor. She's like a Martian. So she's like, I don't think it's Gary. I think it's Jerry. And I was like,
no.
Sit down, sweetie.
Listen
Absolutely
here.
not. I know what's going on. But then I started second guessing myself because like she's the older sister and like what she says actually goes no matter, how much I pretend otherwise. So it's like, maybe it is Jerry. But I was like, I'm going to just, even though it doesn't matter because they both rhyme, like I'm going to remember it by Gary and Terry. Like that'll help my memory.
There you go. I love it.
Teresa's bachelorette party just drove me wild.
I forgot about that.
It. Give me your thoughts.
I was like, it said like viewer discretion advised or had like a warning on it, and I was like, whoa. I put my makeup brush down when I was watching it. I was like, what is gonna happen? And
oh my god, the boudoir shoot.
Yes. I mean, she looked amazing. I'm
gorgeous.
Like, yes, like she was getting it, and like Susan on the bed, and I was like, ooh, okay, girls. Which like I love.
Don't show this shoot to Gary. He's gonna be like hot and bothered.
I know. I thought it was awesome. It goes along with like no matter how old you are, like embrace your body, embrace the skin that you're in. Like you don't need to cover up and be like a nun. Like you can show off what you have, and she was like fully in it, like so confident. And I love that. I thought it was so sweet. Some people thought it was cringe, but I thought it was so sweet, so fun. And then the one woman, who was she? The one that was nervous about doing it. Like that was me. Like that would be me for sure. Like, she was me. I was her. Like I really like just saw myself in her. So I felt for her, but
that's great. And then when they brought the strippers out, I was like, oh my God, girls get it. And they were loving life. Like I could tell those strippers were having the time of their lives with those women.
I know. They were like from, they were Chippendales strippers, weren't they?
Yes.
Which I was like, okay. I mean, it's the ABC draw. It's that ABC money. It's bringing them in.
Bringing in the big guns. Yeah. And you know what? Do you ever go to, or have you ever been to bachelorette parties where a stripper has come in?
So I am like a little bit of like, I get uncomfortable with them. And I'm not afraid to say it. My friends know, like we've done one show for my friends, and they had to like pull me kicking and screaming because I just don't enjoy them. And I don't know why. It's just not my thing. It's not my jam, but I like respect it if it's yours. Cause I feel like, especially for women, it's so much more innocent than when a guy goes, you know what I mean?
1,000%. So like, I think they're hysterical. Like if a stripper's coming, you will find me on the floor, like unable to breathe. I'm immature. That's why, like, I simply cannot. I'm a 10-year-old, and I think it's hysterical. But I think most women view it as like something really funny and fun and kitschy. Whereas like when I picture men going to a strip club, I'm like, you guys are disgusting. You probably
100%.
Little ugly boners, and like this place is probably so dirty and like smells like pee and beer. Like the thought of it, like in my mind, like they're all aroused. They don't think it's funny. They're taking it serious. And that's why I think it's very different.
100%.
Male strippers allowed. Female
Yes.
strippers not allowed.
Yes, no, it's a totally different thing. But no, I love that part of it. I love that they showed that. It was so fun. It was so cute. The women were so excited, and I was like, oh, this is adorable.
They really were precious. So I feel like, unless you have anything to add, I feel like I've really exhausted these
Yes.
two.
Oh, I'll add one more thing.
Oh,
Kathy, the other girl that was on the mic,
Yes.
with Charity. Kathy is just unhinged. Like,
oh my gosh. Wait. Yes.
too
I'm so
much for
sorry.
me.
I forgot to mention this.
yeah.
When she said to Gary's daughter, like, you wish like I was your stepmom.
Oh,
I was like, Kathy, no.
Not the time, Kathy. No, not the time or place. Maybe never say that. Maybe never.
Never.
I mean, Gary's daughter, like, she like played along. Like,
Yes.
she was a good sport about it, but I'm sure internally she was like, I'm so glad my dad didn't choose you, you know?
Totally. So, and I just have to give a quick shout out to Charity because obsessed with her dress, and she looked so like, I thought she was best dressed for sure at the wedding.
Right.
But yeah, Kathy, like, I will say, although wild and unhinged, it's a hard job to do, and she really did carry it. Like, she did a good job on the mic.
No, you're right. And I think Charity did too, but I don't know if you could tell this. I read people really well. I felt like Charity was so annoyed with Kathy. And I don't know if it was if she was like playing into it and pretending to be annoyed, or if she was genuinely annoyed. But I watched all of Charity's season. I watched her on Dancing with the Stars. So I feel like actually, she's my friend. I'm like, I know her mannerisms.
No, but you've
I know
seen
how
her
she
enough
is.
that you can tell.
Yeah, I feel like she was just like pissed. Like at one point, Kathy was like, all right, guys, like cheers for all the single ladies. And then Charity's like, that's not me. And I was like, because like they're going to run with that and be like, oh my gosh, because she's newly engaged. It'd be like, oh, they're no longer engaged. So I just think Charity was like, had enough of Kathy. She was entertaining, but I think Charity was pissed about her. I'm like, it was funny to watch.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, to put those two together was an interesting choice because
100%.
like maybe have two different broadcasts, like one for like the fun, funky, spunky, Kathy audience, and then Charity is more of like the female Jessie.
Like more reserved, more classy.
Polished. Yeah. I didn't like the duo together. And I also, now I'm like probably being a little bit annoying, but like why have a duo of women when we have like Jesse interviewing people on his own? And like, I thought that was a little bit annoying. It was the same thing with, Caitlin and Tasia when they had them like co-host. Like, we don't need two women to do the job of man. In fact, we could probably carry on a little better. Like, if I just say so myself.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. Yeah, it's like Jesse was holding his own, but then they felt like they had to have two women to hold their own. That's a good point. I agree.
Yeah, why not have Jesse babysit Kathy? Why did it have to be Charity?
Right. I feel like Jesse and Kathy would have been really good together. Like Kathy
it would have been better
Jesse
chemistry,
so
I think.
Yes, I agree. And then Cherry could have held her own. Yes.
Yeah,
man,
for sure.
We have so many ideas for ABC. They need to switch up the host. They need to do a behind the scenes special and like show everything with the vendors.
Listen, next wedding, we'll do a live broadcast.
Yes, that'd be so fun. I'd love that.
Really fun. I love it. Okay, I want to get into some other. So this was a 2024 wedding technically, but we're like right on that edge of it. So very iconic wedding of 2023. One of the most iconic, I would say, was Miss Simone Biles and her husband Jonathan Owen or Owens.
Whatever his last name is.
Who is that man? We don't know this man.
I don't know.
Okay, so by now, like everyone has kind of heard about this very strange thing. So just to backtrack a little bit, I think everyone in and around our age group, and probably like younger and older too, just really admires Simone Biles. She's a national treasure. Yeah. Like she is one of the most accomplished athletes of all time. And she's gorgeous. She's like, so
when she's getting married, we're all like, oh my God. And then I hate to say it, but her husband is very attractive. So like, that's exciting too. It's like, okay, this gorgeous couple, like, you know, there's all this fodder around the wedding, and their wedding was fabulous and stunning. And they had a couple different ceremonies and celebrations and locations. So we're all just like, you know, pumping this man up because like, wow, what a gift that like he married Simone Biles. And then for anyone who doesn't know, rather than me just gab away, do you want to take it, Jenny, and tell the people, for anyone who doesn't know, what this man did?
Yes, I'll tell the people. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You can fact check me. So yeah, I guess what happened was he was in an interview, right? And he basically was asked if he knew who she was before they met, and he said, no, I don't watch gymnastics. I don't know who she was. And then he said,
so you're not American?
Yeah. True, I know. She's the most like, decorated like gymnast like of all time, I think, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess he made a comment saying, you know, like, oh, I'm the catch in this relationship. And upon like initially hearing that, I was like, oh, okay, that's quite the statement. But we also didn't hear the tone he said it in. So I wonder if it was just like maybe he has a really joking personality and he was just joking about it. And I mean, I feel like people are taking it the other way, which could very well be true. Maybe he is cocky, maybe he is full of himself. But then like there was a lot of uproar about it, and people, you know, were filming videos of like girls were like filming their husband, hey, do you know who Simone Biles is? They're like, yeah. And then like, hey, do you know who this Jonathan guy is? They're like, no. So people were trying to prove a point that like Simone is more recognizable and more of a household name than him. But then I guess I don't know if you heard like Simone responded and she like wasn't bothered by it. And like she's like, everything's good here. So that's what makes me think that maybe he was just joking and that's just his personality and people took it to the extreme. I don't know. Totally. What are your thoughts?
So that was my first thought too when I heard about it. And I had just done a video on Simone Biles. And so I was like talking about her wedding and she was like fresh on my mind. And then literally the next day, this news broke. So I'm like, oh my God, my heart hurts right now. This is like so sad. So I watched it and like the host.
Oh, it was an actual like
it was
video
a podcast interview. So you can see him do
his
it.
tone.
Yeah, you can see him do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And still, like, I still think, you know, I always have these like stupid little sayings that my parents haven't grown up, like believe half of what you hear or none of what you hear and half of what you say or something like that.
Yes.
So I like the host was laughing and he was serious, but there are some people who have like a dry sense of humor and they don't laugh. And like, maybe he was just like, yeah, I like didn't know who she was. But there was a part of me that felt like, if he really like didn't believe that, if he was joking, he would be like, guys, come on. Obviously, and who effing Simone Biles was, like, she's
right.
You know, like he never really like apologized for it. And the fact that she ran to his defense, and again, like, I don't know these people. I'm sure they're very happy and they don't need my commentary or opinion.
Right.
But
right.
if she was like my little sister or something, I'd be like, sweetie, this is not the guy.
Yeah.
Like he's gotta go.
You need a guy that worships the ground you walk on. Yeah.
Totally. So you know what? I don't think it's fair. I think you're totally right. I think it's not fair for people to really like go so hard and speculate because you never know the inner workings of a relationship. Like you truly cannot, even if it seems such a certain way. But it did get me thinking about just red flags. So we see, you and I see a lot of couples and we get to know them really intimately throughout the planning process. So you see like, you know, I would say 90% of grooms in hetero relationships like kind of take a back seat to the wedding, but are like pretty supportive. But then you have some others who kind of stand out. Like you get a groomzilla and it kind of takes you aback. It's like, oh, you're here? Like, this is so interesting. So I wanted to ask you about just red flags in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I can kind of tell whether a couple is going to like make it or not. Do you have any of these tells?
I do. I have to be careful what I say because
yes. Don't say it too much because like obviously we love all of our couples. It's nothing like personal against anyone. Names will be changed for privacy purposes.
Yes. There is one couple that I had they ended up not working with me. We just had like a discovery call. And it just wasn't a good fit for like either end, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, just like certain things like you said, you really get to know them intimately. It's almost like you're a third wheel, you know, like you're like a part of the relationship. And sometimes you hear things that you wish you would rather have not heard between them, you know? And it's like a fine line to walk because you want to guide them and support them along the way, but like you don't want to like get involved with any like issues that they're having within their relationship. But like, yeah, sometimes I hear like red flags like, oh, you know, this is a bridal, this is my first marriage. And then she's like, for my groom, this is his fourth marriage. And I'm just like, oh, like, and I'm wondering like what happened, like no shade to divorce at all. Like I have friends who are divorced, like we just went through like our friends had like their first rounds of divorces that we like jokingly say, you know,
been there,
but, like,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I'm like fourth marriage, huh? Like interesting. Like
how old was he, Jenny? Do you know?
Late 30s.
Okay. It's a little young for a fourth, but okay. No, trying not to be judgmental.
So things like that. Sometimes, gosh, I'm trying to think what else. Like when a groom, like, yes, an uninvolved groom is very normal, right? But then you said that they're supportive and that they're like, hey, whatever you want, honey, I'm here for you. Like, and they really support whatever the bride wants. But sometimes there are those grooms that are just like, I feel like they play devil's advocate all the time. And I'm like, for what? Like, why are you going to be so picky about like how she does her hair or like her makeup? I'm like, that's her choice.
Right.
You know? So sometimes grooms will be picky about like the weirdest things. I'm like, I understand if you're picky about the food, the drink, like that's something that everyone's going to be enjoying. But, I don't know. Yeah, it's so interesting. I haven't had any like crazy, like for the most part, our couples are like amazing. Like I really feel like almost all of them are like really great matches and good for one another. But yeah, it's interesting to think about the dynamics of some couples and like, yeah, it's hard. I don't like to get involved. I'm like, oh.
No, I know. And there's one thing that always makes me like second guess a little bit. And I think everyone's dynamic is different. So I really try not to be judgmental. But I've seen it a few times. And when a bride is stressed, if a groom is separately or a bride, who, however the relationship is set up, someone is speaking in a certain way and their fiance is like, I'm so sorry about them, like this or that. In a weird way that like really bothers me. Like just ride for them, whatever they're doing, and just be nice. Like your personality will show through. You don't have to apologize on their behalf. They'll probably apologize later. Like just I don't know. It's like we're going into this time where we're supposed to be a unit, and you're like going behind my back.
There's
and
like
being
division.
So
yes, no, I totally agree. Yeah, no, because I've seen both sides. I've seen like a bride get really upset over something and the groom comfort her and be there for her, even if he doesn't understand why she's stressed or why she's upset. Like it just shows that he truly like cares. He or she truly cares about her. And yeah, no, you're right. That's a good point. I've definitely seen that a few times, and it's interesting.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being judgmental.
No. I mean, it's just such an interesting position that we are in because of all the vendors. We are the ones that get to know them the best.
Well, let's lighten up the mood. Let me bring up something that's not as drab.
Yes.
So arguably, you know, Simone Biles was definitely one of the most popular weddings of 2023, but I would say Sophia Richie's really like took the cake. Like that was the wedding to watch. Everyone was obsessed with. There were so many elements to it that I think like even people who aren't involved in weddings kind of know inside and out. But I was just curious to see if you saw any of those elements spilling into your couples and their inspirations for weddings.
Yes, I would say definitely. There's a couple things that I've seen kind of brides pull inspo from Sophia's wedding. The first thing is just the florals, kind of like her color palette that she chose for the florals, like the all
Mhm.
white florals with greenery, very classic, elegant, timeless. So many of our brides, even going into 2024, are like when I asked them during our initial like discovery call, like, what's your vision? Like, tell me about your decor, florals, things like that. They say like white florals, greenery, classic, timeless, elegant, sophisticated. And I feel like all those words really describe like Sophia's wedding and the overall feeling of it. So definitely floral inspiration brides have been pulling from her wedding. And I know that lots of brides have done this, not just Sophia, but I feel like Sophia's outfit changes were so iconic. And so I've seen a lot of brides like do more outfit changes too, from ceremony to reception, you know, opting for like a shorter, flirtier dress, that kind of gives them more freedom to move during the reception. So that as well. Those are honestly the two biggest things that I've seen from her wedding, but her wedding was definitely
Yeah,
like one of the best weddings of 2023, like stunning.
you're so right. Like this was 2023 was like the year of the bridal wardrobe. Like one dress just simply won't do. It's funny. I think I've seen more brides than not in 2023 have multiple dress changes.
Yes. Which did you do for
It's
your
just
wedding? Because I didn't do for mine,
I
and I
didn't.
hated that I didn't
No,
do it.
I
Yeah.
had a skirt that like a tulle skirt that went over for my ceremony and then I
Ooh.
took it off for reception.
Mm.
So I thought that was fun. And then it had like a
Oh, I
removable
love
sleeve
that.
too. So I was like getting,
Wow.
a little bit of all worlds. But yeah, it didn't change. My idea of it too, and like not that people weren't doing it in 2021, it was definitely less popular. Um, but I still was like, you know what? My mom paid for my dress, which I'm super grateful for. Thank you, Wen.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but like Wen paid a good amount of money for this dress and like we loved it and I literally
Mhm.
will never wear it again. So like why wouldn't I spend as much time as possible in it on that day? Was
That's
my
a good
rationale.
point. Yes.
How about
I
you? What
never
did you
thought
do a
about it.
change?
No, and I wish I would have because my dress was beautiful, but it was so stinking tight. Like Adriana, I tried to sit down and I was like sitting on the edge of my like seat. I like couldn't, it was so tight because not that I had gained weight, I just like wanted it that tight because I have like a curvy body and my husband, I was like, oh, my husband will love this, you know?
Of
And
course. Yes.
I I was like kicking myself because I didn't have a change of shoes and I was wearing the most uncomfortable heels. Like they were so adorable, like so cute. But I didn't have a change of shoes and then I didn't have an outfit change and I wish if my dress was comfortable, then I would have been fine not having an outfit change, but it was not comfy at all. So I needed like a
Oh,
standing dress and a seating dress. You know what I mean?
totally. Totally. I know that's another thing people don't think about when they're looking for dresses. And it's something I
Yes.
always suggest to people. Like when they put you up, because they'll have you stand up on a platform, like one,
Hmm.
your dress is going to just fall so much more gorgeously because you're like a foot taller. So you're just going to look
Yes.
way better. You have to walk around in it and you have to sit in it. Like move all
Yes.
around in every angle on that dress because they can be so uncomfortable.
That is great advice. Yeah. No, I definitely didn't get that advice. Oh well.
Well, I saw your wedding pictures. I mean, you looked gorgeous. You would never know that it was so uncomfortable because you looked amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I tried. It was when we had at the end of the night, I was like, oh, I can breathe. Oh my gosh. Whew,
How
man.
about how about any other like 2023
Mm,
inspo? Do you see that spilling into any other weddings? Like not just Sophia Richie, but anything that you've seen like in 2023 that a lot of
yeah.
couples are now doing?
Honestly, I don't know if any celebrities have done this, but a big thing that we saw in 2023 that I've never seen before was no wedding party. Which I think we had like five couples who did no wedding party, which was doesn't seem like a lot, like when you're working with like 20, 30 couples, but I was pleasantly surprised. And it was more so at our more intimate weddings, like 100 guests or less, that we saw no wedding party.
Yeah.
And from a planner's point of view, logistically, there's a lot to think through about not having a wedding party. Typically, the best man like will have the rings, the maid of honor will hold the bouquet and fluff the train. So like we had to like kind of rework what we were used to. Like, okay, I will give the officiant the rings, you know, because they need to get to the officiant anyways. And then we'll have like someone in the front row fluff the dress and take the bouquet. So like that was a big thing that we saw. And I love a no
Yeah.
wedding party because
So do I.
I don't know. I just think it's about the couple, and no one really cares about the bridesmaids or the groomsmen, to be honest. All eyes are on the couple. And if you don't have a
Exactly.
supportive wedding party, then it's like they can cause more trouble than ease.
100%, Jenny. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I actually just did a video on this, and I truly
Oh,
think like within the next couple years, bridal parties as we know them will cease to exist because they
mhm.
are. It's just what you said. Like, okay, well, who do I like kind of have to have in the bridal party because maybe they're like my cousin or whatever, and I didn't really want them. Or who did I ask and they actually don't really want to be a part of it because it's a big financial obligation. Like there's
Mhm.
and the photos, like this is another thing I tell people all the time. You spend so much time worrying about the lineups for your bridal party photos. You never ever look at them. Like you have plenty
Right?
of photos with your friends. Like you will get more photos, candid photos with your friends that day. Like you do not need those formal setup with bridal party. Like I could go on and on about this. We should do another episode just about like the
Yes.
benefits of not having a bridal party, but
Yep.
it's so true. And you're right. I saw it a lot this year. I saw in like
Mhm.
maybe one or two high profile weddings, but I
Yeah.
think you're dead on. Like that is it's
Mhm.
going by the wayside for good reason. Like it's
Yes.
just so everyone in the matching dresses and which everyone hates, or like having to rent their suit, which everyone hates. Like
Yeah, like how many
it's all these
bridesmaids
things
dresses
people
do you
don't
have in
like.
your closet? Yeah. Like
Too
I have
many.
so
Too
many.
many.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could just as easily do all the same things that you do that day with your friends without having like the wedding party and like those months and months and
Mhm.
months of like the agony of who's complaining or setting up all the hair and makeup and all that stuff.
Right? No, I totally agree. I love that trend, and I think it's definitely like here to stay. We'll be seeing more and more of it, like you said.
For sure. For sure. Any other trends that you're predicting for 2024, 2025 weddings?
So, yes, I feel like that it's so popular on Instagram right now. Like when I'm scrolling on my like discovery page, it's like 2024 predictions, 2024 predictions. So yeah, other than no wedding party, what's another one? I feel like at least from my perspective, as I've been meeting with our 2024 brides, like a lot of them are opting more for more like bold, colorful weddings, which is kind of a nice contrast from, like I said, a lot of our 2023 brides did the classic, timeless, simple, like white florals and greenery, which is beautiful. I love that. But we have quite a few brides this year who are like, we want all these like peachy, like pastel colors, like pinks and oranges, or like there's one bride in June who's doing like all these bold colors, which we're so excited about her color palette. So I think more brides are not only like not being afraid of color, but also they're trying to think of more ways to make their wedding represent like them as a couple. So like different unique touches and elements that they can add. I've gotten so many emails in the past couple months from our brides being like, "Hey Jenny, do you know of any like fun, unique things we can add to cocktail hour or to the reception? Like things that aren't overdone." So I think more and more couples are wanting their weddings to be not just a copy and paste, but to more
Yes.
be unique to them and their interests, which I think is super cool.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like everything's just becoming so much more experiential and
Yes.
personalized. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that. And, you know, it could be a trend. Like we could go 10 years from now and it could be like, cookie cutter, like everyone's back to bridesmaids. But that's the fun of it. Like seeing how things change and evolve. Like some people might really like the traditional aspect of it. And some people are like so anti-bride. They absolutely hate it. Like just want to get far from it.
Yes, I think that's one of the most like fun things about our job is just no wedding's the same. Like every wedding is so different. And the couple's wants and needs are so different. And I love it because it keeps you on your toes. Like you're always thinking of new ideas and you can suggest to, your future couples. And I think it's just, there's never a boring day, like ever, because every day is so different. Every couple is so different. Every wedding is so different. I love it. I'm excited for the 2024 weddings. It's going to be fun.
I know. So am I. It's so exciting. We're like in a very exciting time because it's all ahead of us now,
Yes. That's why I love January and like the possibilities. Like I love it. Fun.
No, you're right.
Awesome.
It's all exciting stuff. Like we have lots of cool stuff to look forward to. Before I let you go, I have two things for you. So one of them is a listener question. And I wanted to get your opinion on this because I hear people kind of talk about this a lot, but never really in the mainstream. So I'm going to pull up this question. Now, this is from Beth, who is actually a dear friend of mine. So hi, Beth. Thank you for asking this question.
Oh, hi, Beth.
Okay. So Beth said, can we talk about addressing envelopes with Mr. and Mrs. with only the husband's name? Maybe it's me, but I just don't like it. We take their last name to be a family, but do I have to take his first name too? So for anyone who doesn't realize is in the early stages of planning, when you address envelopes, typically you would write it, and I'll just use myself for an example. Instead of writing like Mrs. Adriana Brockman and Mr. Jake Brockman, it would be Mr. and Mrs. Jake Brockman. So that's what Beth has taken issue with. Jenny, let me get your thoughts on this.
Yeah. No, you're right. I read that question and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never thought about this. I feel like people don't talk about it. But it has come up in the grand entrance when couples are doing the grand entrance. Sometimes DJs will automatically write like Mr. and Mrs. Evan Lynn, like for my name. And then the bride, one of the recently, the bride was like, Jenny, does the DJ have to announce it like with, his first name and his last name? Like, I don't want that. Like, I'm my own person. I'm my own entity. And I'm like, no, girl, like I can go run and tell the DJ to say it however you want to be announced. So no, I agree with Beth. I'm not about traditions. I am like whatever you want to do. Like if you want to go that route, that's fine. It's not my personal preference. I mean, I think we've talked about this too. Like last time, we don't have gender roles in my marriage, and I am my own unique person and I have my own identity separate from my husband. So I would not want to be lumped into his like first and last name. I love him and I love his last name. It's easier than my maiden name. But no, I agree with Beth. I feel I haven't seen a lot of couples doing that. Only really, I guess, on some invitations. And I feel like the influence is coming from parents, like the older generation, be like, oh, that's tradition. I'm like, screw tradition. Like,
screw tradition. Beth is a good one. She's always on it. But I agree. And I think that if you're going to get a calligrapher to do your invitations, like, okay, that's going to add a little bit of expense because you're just, adding real estate to the envelope, and the more that you write, the more expensive it's going to be. But most people are printing these, so it really doesn't take much. So if you want to, just write both names. Like I don't see why we can't just change that. It's so funny, like some of the archaic things that we keep in weddings.
And like people just think they have to do it just because it's always been done. And I'm like, no, honey, you don't have to do that. Like, I feel like I just get like flack mostly from moms. Like, and we've worked with so many great moms but like so many moms are just like married to tradition. And then like, God forbid we like stray away from tradition. I have to like explain like why we're doing this. And I'm like,
It's 2024. Let's just like, we don't need to do all those. Yeah. Like you said, archaic. That's a really good word.
Yeah. We don't need to. It's the same thing with like the cake cut and all of those types of things. Like people get so butthurt about it, but it's not necessary.
Right.
All right, Jenny, before I let you go, so every episode we do an after party. And since you are a two-time guest, Jenny was on episode 12. If anyone didn't listen, they
Yes, that
have
was a
to
good
because it's a
one.
great episode. I love that
Yes.
episode. But since you already answered the after party questions, I made new after party questions for you, except for one, because I think, no one can get too much advice. But we're going to answer a new round. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. All right, Jenny. A dream destination wedding location or venue?
So definitely on my bucket list to do a wedding there is Santorini, Greece. I just feel like with like the white buildings and the crystal clear blue waters, like doing it with like the water and the backdrop, like for ceremony, it would be stunning. Like everyone in the guys in white, the girls in like a, I don't know, like a pretty blue. Like, oh my
Ooh,
gosh, that would be so, my dream is Greece. Yeah.
it sounds so fabulous. And it needs such minimal decor because it's just like
Right?
rich with beauty. Oh,
Yes, that's such a
oh
good
my,
point. I didn't even think about that. Another reason to go.
another reason to go. I love that. Jenny, you are subbing a cake for a dessert station. What are you choosing?
Mini cheesecakes, hands down. Like you can do so many different flavors, like chocolate raspberry, peanut butter, like chocolate fudge. Oh my gosh, like just like a mini cheesecake that you can just like, it's different than a cupcake, so it's more
Yes.
it's not as overdone. But it's like, gosh, unless you're lactose intolerant, that would suck because you can't have that. But
You can get like
um
also a dairy-free cheesecake. I'm sure they make those now.
yes. Right. Yeah, like a vegan one. Oh, yes. You could
Yes,
do vegan cheesecakes and then but like
totally.
not slices because no one likes to have a plate and a fork and you feel like tied to a seat. Like just like mini ones that you can just grab and like just go, hit the
Oh,
dance
I love
floor.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, that is such a good one. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, I know. I know.
All right, Jenny. Last time I asked you what song you need to hear at a wedding. And this time
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what song do you never want to hear at a wedding again?
There are so many, like so many. I had such a hard time choosing one, but if I
You can name a
had
few if you have to.
Gosh, I mean, definitely like any of the ones like the line dance songs where you like they're like desperate pleas to get people on the dance floor. I'm
Yeah.
like the Cha Cha Slide, Cotton Eye Joe, like I hate those songs. And whenever our couples are like, I'm like, hey guys, like the song list is due to the DJ, like what songs are on your do not playlist? And when they're like, oh, any of like the cheesy dance floor songs, like we don't want those. I like jump up and down with joy. I'm like, thank God. Like I
Yeah.
hate those songs. Terrible.
Yeah.
Never
I'm with
again.
you. It's actually funny. My nephew, he's 3. He has just discovered the cha-cha slide and he makes us do it like a few times a week. So I'm like, oh my God,
Oh my gosh. I'm
I gotta
sending
get
you
away from
thoughts and
this.
prayers. Like that's
It's really cute when he does it, but it's,
yeah.
it's some PTSD for sure.
Right? I'd be triggered if I heard it. Like oh no, like not in a wedding setting. Yeah, no. Oh my
I love
gosh.
it. Okay. And then last question. You gave a great piece of advice last time, but I
Mhm.
think when people are planning a wedding, they can never get too much good advice, especially from professionals like yourself. So, Jenny, if you could offer one more piece of advice to any couple planning a wedding, what would you tell them?
Yes. Now this is what I wanted to circle back to. So this is a
Oh,
good way to
yay. Oh
wrap
my
it up.
gosh. Because you know me, I forgot.
Yeah, I know. I didn't forget. I always tell people to remind me, but then I never forget. So, anyways, it has to do. We kind of touched on this earlier, but I know that the no wedding party is becoming a trend. But my advice to couples, because there's still quite a few couples who are choosing to have a wedding party, and
Yeah.
a lot of our couples lately have been struggling with who to have in their wedding party and like who to ask. And what I've been telling them lately, and they've really been like resonating with this. So I was like, oh, I have to share this. Honestly, you have to think about like 5 years down the road when you are looking back at your wedding album. Like when you're looking at the people who you chose to stand by you, like, are you looking at those photos fondly, or are you realizing like, oh crap, I just asked them to be in my wedding because I didn't want them to get butthurt. I didn't want to hurt their feelings. Like,
Right.
or like so and so is friends with this person, so if I ask this person, I have to ask that person. And I've been telling them, I'm like, trust me, there is no worse feeling, because I felt it personally, than looking back at your photos and just being like, why did I invite them? Like, I was too
Yeah.
afraid to hurt their feelings, and now they're in all of my wedding party photos. My husband feels the same way about some people that he chose, and it's like, it's not that there was any like point of contention that we had with them, but like we weren't that close with them at the time, but we felt obligated to ask. So my advice to
Yeah.
couples is to not only invite people who you truly want to stand by you on such a momentous day, but also invite people who are going to uplift you, who are going to support you, who are going to be kind and helpful and thoughtful and selfless, because there are a lot of different things that you can do if you're in a wedding party to help support the couple or hurt the couple. And there are just some really selfish people, and they try and make the wedding about themselves. And I'm like, if you see a red flag in that person, do not ask them to be at your wedding. Like, because it not only causes, so much stress for you guys as a couple, it causes stress for the wedding coordinator or planner, causes stress for other vendors, for family. Like, if they're not going to be supportive, like, sorry, you're cut, So I think being more selective and being more intentional when choosing your wedding party is so, so, so important. And couples don't realize that.
That was one of the better pieces of advice I've heard. It's
Thank you.
so true. No, and it's underrated. And I think a lot of people feel this way, and they're like a little bit too scared to talk about it just because of what you said. Like, you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or like there's a connection with this person or that person. But at the end of the day, like, this is your life. And if someone is stressing you out now, like, and they always have, they are always going to, like, get them out of your life now. And that doesn't mean like, oh, you have to have this big, like, I'm calling off a friendship. Just like peel back a little bit. Don't put them as an honorary position on the biggest day of your life. It's really, really good advice. I love that you said that.
Yes. Well, no, thank you. And I think I like, my couples will come back to me and they'll be like, well, I don't want to this, and this. And I go, hey, this is how you can approach it with them. You can say, hey, I love you. I care about you. But you can say, we're trying to, due to numbers, we need to keep our wedding party a little smaller. But I would still love you to celebrate with me at the bridal shower. I would still love you to come on my bachelorette trip. Like, there are other things and other roles that they can play that aren't as like involved as being in the wedding party. So
Totally.
and I think that comes with age too, because like the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm more confrontational. I'm like,
Cutting everyone.
yeah, I care about my happiness. I'm like, no, I mean, yeah, but I think that comes with age as well. And a lot of these brides are like early 20s, mid 20s. So, I mean, I try as best as possible to like lovingly guide them in the right direction.
They need it, Jenny. They need your guidance. We all do. You're so fun to talk to. You were always welcome anytime you ever want to come on. I love chit-chatting with you. And I left everywhere that people can find you in the show notes, but I want you to plug away.
Yes. No, first, I mean, thank you so much for having me on again. I'm so honored to be like a repeat guest. I absolutely adore you. I think you're so like fun and vibrant and just like such a bright light. So thank you so
sweet.
much.
Thank you, Jenny.
I feel like
Thank
we're
you.
just a compliment fest. I love it.
I know. I could do this all day. I have to move to Tennessee to be closer to you.
Right. I know. Or I can move up to you. Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, we are really active on Instagram. So our Instagram is Before the Vows, all one word, all lowercase, and then underscore. Because Before the Vows, all the underscore was taken. So
Rude.
yeah, and it's not even an active account. I'm like, what is going on? Anyways,
Annoying.
and then our website, you can find us on there. If you're getting married, we would love to talk to you. We work all over the Southeast, but mostly in like Tennessee and Georgia. But our website is beforethevowsllc.com. And then we have a contact form on there that you can fill out, and we'll be in touch.
Amazing. Check her out. You will not regret it. Jenny, Thank you so much, my love. I will chat with you soon, I'm very sure.
Of course, I'll catch you in the DMs for sure.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode today. Please like, review, rate, subscribe, follow, whatever the things are. It's really, really helpful. If you do support us, there's something in it for you too. You'll have the opportunity to win a free prenup bridal prep planner. We give one away every month. I have the directions on how to do that below, so make sure you check that out. Thank you again for listening. Happy planning. See you next Wednesday.